Hello, this is Scoutmaster Patton on September 14th. We just had our first troop meeting last night, and I'm providing a brief overview of a service project that we've been asked to complete this fall. Saugatuck Congregational Church, our charter organization, would like some help with outdoor maintenance of the outdoor chapel that is located in the woods between the Saugatuck Church parking lot and Winslow Park. As many of you know, we actually were the ones that got the outdoor chapel out there in the first place. It was Tobey Patton's Eagle Scout project a few years back. Some of you helped on that project, and others have probably heard about it. And many of you have been up to the outdoor chapel because we occasionally run programming ourselves out there during troop meetings. So this is June of 2019 when Tobey was just finishing up the project. In September of 2019, the congregation gathered up there and thanked Tobey and by extension Troop 36 for creating the chapel. Notice how many people there are and how closely they're seated together. And of course, this is just a few months before all of our lives would change. Fast forward to April of 2021, and we're now well into the COVID pandemic, and Saugatuck Congregational Church had become incredibly grateful for the use of having an outdoor space like the outdoor chapel to have in-person worship services in. You can see the orange flags that the church placed to help people know where they could set up their lawn chairs and still be socially distanced and still be able to gather together. So it's an important space in the life of the church. Unfortunately, things need maintenance. Cars need maintenance. Houses need maintenance. Your bicycle needs maintenance, etc. And the chapel is at a point now where it needs some work done. This is a photo I took just this morning of the access from the church parking lot, and you can see it's all completely overgrown with weeds and not particularly neat or inviting. This is an easy thing to fix, so we'll whip through this very quickly. Just beyond that point is a path that leads up a small hill to where the outdoor chapel is located. And again, there's some minor work that needs to be done here to kind of neaten things up from storm activity. Water pouring down this slope has clearly moved some things around. So we just need to get the borders back into place and remove debris. Once you're up closer to the chapel, you start to see the more substantial pieces of work that are needed. This is the additional seating area that is just below the outdoor chapel on the south side toward the parking lot. And this used to be open enough that people could put chairs in it, et cetera, and it's really not at the moment. It's got these small trees and weeds and things growing up that need to be removed. There's also broken glass and other trash through this area that's been discarded. So we need to comb through this area, neaten it up, make it available for seating again for people to use safely. There's a downed limb, pretty good size one, in the northeast corner of the outdoor chapel. So that needs to be cut up and removed to the area just beyond and piled up with other downed limbs that are there or repurposed for use within the chapel. There's a toppled bench. There's a few things that need to happen with it. The one that's obvious from here is it's not seated to the ground at all. So a couple of holes need to be dug there. The bench then stand the bench up in it, make sure it's nice and level, and then fill in around it so that it will stay there for people to sit on comfortably. And the podium is a mess. The podium clearly just fell over and broke. The base pieces are all disconnected from it. There's supposed to be a sort of a small piece of wood that is a bookrest on the top of the podium, and that's gone too. So we need some power tools to be able to reconnect the boards to the bottom, get the whole thing seated. Rocks are there to help with shoring it up, and then attach a small piece of wood or a branch to the top to be used as a bookrest. One of the things that if we cut up that downed limb that we could use the pieces for is to help with the degraded borders. There's a lot of branches that are put around to kind of provide a naturalistic but also neat and attractive framing of the chapel, and it's kind of broken down over time. So we could add pieces to that from the downed limb, or we could pull them in from other places, but we need to fix up the borders. There's another example where it's kind of, pieces are going every which way. It's kind of overgrown. So adding some additional pieces to make a more clear distinction of where the chapel begins and ends will just make it look nicer. This is that same toppled bench, but a close-up of where the seat connects to or isn't connected very well to the pieces beneath. So obviously a power tool and impact driver is needed to get these reconnected. So we need to find somebody that has one and get them to come help us out. So that's the overview of the work that needs to be done up there. And this shot is from when Tobey was starting out on his Eagle Scout project. And you can see Philip DeMonk off to the left there, and Matthew Fleming's in the background there. So, what do you need to do? Well, Dylan Kerpiel has volunteered to organize things for this project, at least the initial stage. And what I would say is it doesn't all have to happen at once. It certainly doesn't all have to happen on the same day. This may be a multiple sessions sort of thing where maybe Dylan organizes the first day and then somebody else organizes the next day or whatever. You guys can talk about that. But you need to make a plan for what work is going to get done when. I can help you know what the priorities are to tackle first and second and things, and then you can go from there. Recruit scouts and friends and adults and et cetera to be volunteers to help out. You need to find a couple of power tools that are going to be needed for this, but it's mostly rakes, garbage bags, work gloves. You may want somebody with to come with a small chainsaw. An adult would need to do that to cut up the downed limb, or you can attack it with bow saws, and that's just fine. And then get the work done. And when it's all done, the chapel will look much better. It'll be functional again, usable for events, and you'll have a very happy charter organization. So I'm happy to answer questions.